everyone, and welcome to my favourite time of the week. Just settle down, just calm your nerves there, but get excited at the same time because it's time to look at all of my wrestlers of the week. And what a week it's been. We've had some excellent G1 matches, of course we've had some excellent Evolve matches too. We've had NXT, we've had various things. We've had World of Sport, because remember, World of Sport takes place on Saturday and this runs from Saturday to Friday, so it's still eligible. If you can visualize the calendar in your mind, it still works. If you go, yep, cool. I'm Jack, by the way. Wrestlers of the week. First off, as always, some honourable mentions. Now, apparently, and I don't know if there's any way of me watching this match, hopefully they make it available somehow, hopefully it was recorded, in Progress's tour of North America. They recently had a show in New York City featuring Chris Brooks and Jonathan Gresham, I believe, representing CCK, the best boys, the indie lads that everyone loves, against LAX, Santana and Ortiz from Impact Wrestling. And apparently, according to Jim Smallman, the guy who runs Progress, the ring announcer, the co-owner, he said it was one of the best tag team matches he has ever seen. I'm desperate to watch that match, and I don't quite know how to, so if anyone knows, give me a call. Also, shout out to guys like, I want to mention Cesaro, because Cesaro was excellent on SmackDown this week in the big tag match main event. All of the guys in it were, but I was really happy particularly to see him back in action. Also, Austin Theory did really well at Evolve, but couldn't quite sneak onto the list. And over in New Japan, Toru Yano deserves a shout out for some of the finest comedy wrestling that we've ever seen. He's one of the best comedy wrestlers that we've ever seen, and this week was a little bit of a funny one for him. So we'll sneak him onto the honourable mentions. Can't talk. Honourable mentions. Now let's crack on with number 10. My number 10 this week was a man who has not yet made it onto Wrestlers of the Week, despite being one of my favourite WWE superstars, one of my boys, a guy I always want to see do well. SOS, get your Jamaican flags out. It's Kofi Kingston, who I think is actually from New England. Kofi was in that tag team match I mentioned just before with Cesaro and Sheamus. He was teaming with Big E Langston. Wow, we're taking it back to 2012 type of era, guys. No, Big E and Kofi against the bar, with Xavier Woods, of course, lurking around the outside like a trailer park girl. Now, what's with the old references? That was from an Eminem song in 2001, I'm gonna guess. Kofi was really good in this match. He was flying about all over the place like a pinball, and it makes me really sad that we don't see more of him. Like, the New Day are one of the best tag teams in the world right now, and it's a shame we don't see them go all out on a more regular basis. I bet they want to. They seem to be having a really good time when they wrestle a really good match. You can sometimes sort of tell when a wrestler is like feeling it and really enjoying it, and whenever any of those three guys are on form, you can tell that it's really clicking for them. They're having the best time, but sadly a lot of the time they're kind of bogged down with comedy skits and that sort of thing, which they're fantastic at, but I want to see them do more badass wrestling, and thankfully Kofi was allowed to do that on SmackDown this Tuesday. He and the rest of the New Day progress to SummerSlam, where they face the Bludgeon Brothers for those SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Well done, Kofi, 1 point to you. Welcome to the list. Very flamboyant there. Number 2, a man who is certainly no stranger to Wrestlers of the Week in the year of our Lord 2018, Kotor Bushi. Now, Kotor Bushi, or the Mighty Bush, as I have called him, had a wonderfully smooth, fantastic, excellent main event match in one of the nights of the G1 against Tetsuya Naito. Both guys have been two of the best performers in this year's G1. They've been right teachers' pets, they have, impressing Meltzer all the time, getting the acclaim of the fans and just being good lads. Not like Tama Tonga, who Kotor Bushi had his second match of the G1 this week against, who's not been a teacher's pet at all. He's been a really bad lad. He's been flagrantly not caring about getting on Wrestlers of the Week, to be frank. He's not cared about star ratings. He's been actively trashing his own matches, trashing the matches of others. And I think, alongside Roderick Strong, it's time to officially brand Tama Tonga the heel of this list. But back to Ibushi, he had some good stuff. His match with Naito was superb. His match with Tama Tonga was superb until it was cut short by Tama Tonga and his boys just cheating, beating up the ref. It feels like I'm totally new to the concept of being annoyed by a heel. The most basic of wrestling fan emotions to feel. I'm suddenly confronted with it and I'm like, what's going on? But Ibushi in that match, to be fair to him, did have a massive moonsault and some big spots on the outside and stuff like that. And nearly knocked over a small child, as people were pointing out to me on Twitter, as he ran for the door to get up to the balcony. Ran for the door, nearly knocked into a small child, got on the balcony, tight-roped across, high-fived someone, moonsaulted off. That's brilliant. That's what you want from a wrestler, isn't it? High spots, all the time. No psychology, no storytelling, just he's good at those things too. I'm being sarcastic. Number 8, the bad boy, Joey Janella. One of the least original nicknames in wrestling today, but I think he's one of the only guys who could pull it off because he's just that charismatic and that, yeah, the bad boy. He's cocksure, he's rebellious, he doesn't really care what anyone thinks of him, and everyone loves him for it. He had 2 matches in Evolve this week, because Evolve run shows in twos. Like Evolve 108 and 109 happened this week, I think. And Joey Janella, first of all, he had an okay match against AR Fox. It wasn't anything spectacular, it was just alright. But on the second night, he main evented against Darby Allen for his WWN Championship, which he was able to retain in a bloody excellent match. I'm a Darby Allen fan. I love Darby Allen. I'm not particularly a Joey Janella fan, but I have to concede that in this match, he was absolutely spot on. Actually, I'll explain what I mean by I'm not a big fan of Joey Janella. I don't really get him too much, but at the same time, I can recognise that he's good. But it's just because of how I first became aware of him. I first became aware of Joey Janella, as many people I think did, because of the first Joey Janella spring break in Orlando, Florida in 2017. And I was like, this guy's got a whole show themed around him. Who the hell is he? And then he had that match against, I think it was against Mai Jannetty, I think. And then it was just ridiculous. I was like, wow, he's a really funny comedy wrestler, but can he actually wrestle? Then I think Sam had some CZW on a tape or something, or maybe he just got it up on YouTube. We watched that, and it was Joey Janella doing stupid stunts in CZW, and I was like, oh, that's really entertaining and grisly, but can he actually wrestle, though? And after watching matches like these, yes, you can't deny that Joey Janella can wrestle. So I'm sorry, Joey. I hope these 3 points make it up to you, mate. Well done. Next up, his opponent on that second night, and the king of my heart, and the man who could, possibly turn all of us gay, Darby Allen. Now, obviously, Darby Allen is a specific type. Look at him. He's a bit of a gothy emo kid, isn't he? But he is one of the purest and best underdog baby faces in the wrestling business right now. We don't get to see too much of him, considering the amount of time he spends wrestling for promotions of the prominence of Evolve. I sort of don't really get to check in on Darby Allen as much as I'd like to. Oh, that sounds a bit... No, it doesn't. It's just because I said that it does sound a bit dodgy. He had that excellent match, as I mentioned, against Joey Janella, and then afterwards, everything I read was also echoing my own opinions. Like, even though Joey Janella won, wow, Darby Allen is an excellent, excellent babyface. He's reckless, he takes some stupid spots, but he packs everything he does with charisma, and it's just superb. I love him. In my heart and soul. I don't know what it is. Is it the face paint? Is it the bleached hair? Something about that man. I'm going to write a song about him. Next up, now, the main event of World of Sport last weekend was the first ever Women's Championship match featuring Kaylee Ray, Viper, and Bea Priestley. 3 women who are kind of all occupy different positions in the women's wrestling scene in the UK. Kaylee Ray has kind of been around for ages. Everyone knows that she's good. Same for Viper, who's more of a destroyer, but she's just awesome. Bea Priestley has gone to Stardom and come back like 3 times the wrestler that she was before she went there. She's improved immeasurably. So this match was always going to be pretty good, but wow, it was absolutely excellent. The best match of World of Sport so far, I think, in my opinion, and that's why Kaylee Ray makes it this week. So Kaylee Ray won the match, and you know what? I think they swerved me good and proper World of Sport, because yeah, for fans of our smarky caliber watching a World of Sport episode, you might be able to see all the turns, all the storylines, all the promos. The theme of everything is quite easy to grasp. Like, everyone knew that Grado was going to lose the belt at the end of the first episode. It just seemed obvious, but they swerved me here. I thought that Viper was an absolute lock to win this title. She came out, the cameras were like pointing up at her like Andre the Giant to emphasize how big and tall she is. Everyone was like, oh, Viper's so like badass, she's going to win. Kaylee Ray won. And not only that, but all throughout the match, I couldn't tell which of the 3 women was going to win. The way they structured it and paced it was absolutely excellent. And I can't think really of too many better candidates than Kaylee Ray to become the first ever World of Sport Women's Champion. So congratulations, Kaylee Ray. On your sale. That's a Scottish term. I don't know what it means, on yourself. I think it means, well done. Have a bloody celebratory cup of tea. Next up, Kenny Omega, who is really one of the front runners now. One of the only people who can, I think, realistically catch Will Ospreay and Zack Sabre Jr. at the top. Although, to be fair, like, mathematically, anyone could. If someone racked up Wrestler of the Week for the rest of the year, then they'd obviously win the league table. So that's the beauty of this league format. It means that anyone can win until about 10 weeks from the end of the year, and then it gets narrowed down. But, Kenny Omega will be in there right until the end, I think, right up until the final bell. It's just a league table. It's just me updating a spreadsheet. Kenny Omega had an extraordinarily good match with Tomohiro Ishii this week in the G1 Climax. It was superb. It was really hard-hitting and intense, as you'd imagine any match between those two guys will be. As we saw last year, they had a couple of excellent matches then too, especially the one in Long Beach where Omega tried to dragon suplex Ishii through a table on the outside and Ishii bit the top rope to prevent it from happening. Wow. Then it happened anyway. So yeah, Omega had that wonderful match, one of the best of the G1 so far. I think everyone is pretty much in agreement. And then also, well, he had a funny comedy match with Toru Yano, but it was kind of ruined by the bad boy, Tama Tonga, Guerrilla Tactics. It's time for warfare. Don't take Kenny's points away from him, Tama Tonga. Kenny could have been Wrestler of the Week this week if it wasn't for you ruining his match. But no, you've totally spoiled it. And now Kenny has to make do with a mid-table position. So cheers, mate. Thanks very much. I hope that Kenny's actually annoyed with him. I hope that when Kenny watches this series, as he obviously does, he gets right on the DMs to Tama Tonga and goes, mate, next time you do a run-in, don't do it in my match because it's costing me points on Jack the Jobber's Wrestlers of the Week. I think the chances of that are pretty much dead certain. Next up, the Mr. Consistency, I think, of the G1 Climax this year, Tetsuya Naito. He hasn't been in, you know, all of the best matches. He's been in one of the best matches, certainly, against Kenny Omega, but he's not been in, like, all of the matches that he's been in haven't been blow-away, big 5-star affairs, but they've all been 4 stars, 4.5, in my opinion. Every single match he's had has been good to very, very good. This week, he took part in 2, again, very, very good matches, and I had to reward that consistency with a nice position on this week's league table. His first match was against Ibushi. It was buttery smooth, guys. It was a buttery smooth match from 2 buttery smooth lads. And then his second match was against his stablemate, Sonata. A very intriguing one, a battle of mind games kind of, and a match that I honestly thought Sonata was going to win because of storyline implications, but actually, it turns out, this was one of those New Japan things where you think there's going to be a big storyline development and they go, no, this is just another step in the road to that storyline development, which is probably going to happen 7 years down the line. New Japan booking can be quite frustrating at times, but at the same time, when it does pay off, it pays off in more spectacular fashion than just about anything in the wrestling world today. Apart from Gargano and Ciampa. Shouts out to those men. Next up, a new champion in the indie wrestling world and now one of the most powerful men in the indie wrestling world because of the status of the championship that he has claimed and the man that he beat to get there, Shane Strickland. Shane Strickland main evented the first night of that Evolve doubleheader against Matt Riddle, who has looked indestructible in his reign as Evolve champion, and Shane Strickland just took one look at him and went, no, 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 you're off to WWE, give me your belt immediately. And that's exactly what happened. Not exactly what happened, I guess. Shane Strickland had to subject Matt Riddle to one of the most brutal, sustained attacks on the hand that I've ever seen in professional wrestling. Strickland was laying in stomps to the fingers, he was coming off the top with big moves to the hand, he was bending the fingers back. Evolve apparently said on the next night of the show that Matt Riddle lost the tip of his pinky in this match. So horrible and brutal was Shane Strickland's assault. That's the kind of desire you need if you want to win an Evolve championship, I guess. The match was phenomenal, really, really good stuff. Definitely a match of the year candidate. Well, there's been so many match of the year candidates, but that might not be saying much, but it's up there. It's certainly top tier. And yeah, I'm excited to see what Shane Strickland brings to this reign because I think for a long time he's been one of the more overlooked guys on the indie scene considering just how damn talented he is, and now hopefully he can start to gain some of that recognition. Next up, number 2, Tomohiro Ishii, the Stone Pitbull. He's been just racking up all kinds of points in the past few weeks thanks to the G1 Climax, and I think on balance him and Naito are probably my New Japan G1 Climax MVPs so far, I think. I don't know how else to put this because every week I talk about how great he is. Ishii had 2 great matches this week, a really good, potentially 5-star match against Kenny Omega, and a really good, probably 4.5 star match against Juice Robinson. Ishii, you're a boss, continue to do what you do, and he's come from like a really low down place on the league table that you can't see because it cuts it off, but he's been like on single figures for a long time, and he's just suddenly well into the top 25. It's quite a heartwarming story of Wrestlers of the Week success. Well done, Ishii, you beautiful bald man. And finally, my Wrestler of the Week, and maybe the most important man in wrestling right now, Matt Riddle. This is Matt Riddle's second Wrestler of the Week title, I guess. Yeah, we'll call it that. But this time around, he is, without question, I think, the most important man in wrestling this week, currently, because everyone knows or strongly suspects that he's on the cusp of a move to WWE. Did this make him slow down on the indie scene and put on like comedy matches to try and avoid injury? No, it absolutely did not. He had 2 matches, one against Shane Strickland, which was just, as I've mentioned, absolutely brutal. You could argue that he was kicking out of too many things. He kicked out of a double stomp through a table, but at the same time, time, when you've built up a champion as much as Matt Riddle, I can forgive having him look a little bit too invincible because, you know, it's going to take a huge effort to dislodge him from the title, and that makes a lot of sense. So Shane Strickland fully deserved the win, but Matt Riddle looked like an absolute beast going out on his shield. Not just that, but he returned on night 2 to wrestle his farewell match, I guess, not just to the independent scene, because he's got a few more dates with Progress and stuff like that, but certainly his farewell match to Evolve, his promotion. He wrestled Austin Theory and battered him. It had to be stopped. The referee had to call off the match because Riddle was winning too much. He won by stoppage, which is quite strange because I thought he'd maybe put someone over on his way out, although I guess he put over Shane Strickland in dropping the belt to him. But 2 wonderful matches this week and an impending move to WWE where he's surely going to be a megastar, and that's why Matt Riddle is my wrestler of the week. So if we take a look at the league table, Ospreay and Sabre Jr. remain on the same amount of points, but Kenny Omega is creeping up. So too is Matt Riddle, who springs back into 4th place. Having occupied the top 3 for quite a few weeks and then falling out of them, he's right back in contention. There's Ibushi down there and Ishii both making nice gains, and it's worth mentioning again just how sudden and rapid Ishii's rise has been. So too has Tetsuya Naito's, and I don't think you can see him. I think Ricochet's going to cut off the bottom of this list, but tied on points with Ricochet is Tetsuya Naito in joint 24th position. So well done to Ishii and Naito for really coming on strong in the second half of 2018. So that's all for now. Thank you very much for watching my Wrestlers of the Week. There's not long left. Who's going to triumph? Who's going to win? I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. You can follow me if you want on Twitter at JackTheJobber. You can follow all of us at Cultaholic, and check out our Patreon too if you want, patreon.com/Cultaholic. And never forget, of course, to hit subscribe and to join us.